an introduction to the Certificate 3 students completing or attending the cake unit. So we've got cake, specialist cake, Petty 4 in this stream. And just pretty much an introduction because there's some new students. I mean, there's some students who have been here a few semesters, one semester, but there's quite a few new students. So I thought it would be good to just give a bit of an introduction on what we will be training, the training, where to get the resources, how the communication looks like from your teacher. And I will be the teacher. I'm Dean Gibson. Just introduce myself. Pastry chef, 47 years, I think, something like that in industry. 25 years teacher in this discipline field. Yeah, very experienced in this sort of area. And, you know, really the time that we have in class is very short. We get 6 hours practical training, and then there's an hour related theory. So I'll be using this system where I'm reaching out before class for you to see what's coming up and to be prepared, so we can really fit in as much as we can into those lessons. So I'm just going to share my screen. We're going to start looking at where to get these resources and how to and essentially what we're doing. So this is the first unit that we're doing is cake. Just go back up and I'll show you where you can get this resource. This book will be supplied as well when you come to class on the first lesson. We'll look at the timetable as well, but let's have a look at this, what's in this first unit that we'll be doing semester 2, and that's produce cakes. In the session guide, you've got all the recipe content. Of course, we have quite a large recipe pool which will be available for students, and I'll show you where they will be stored for you can download and keep those for your future career. So these are the lessons. So we've got lesson 1. This is what we'll be doing on that first lesson on a Wednesday. So we've got Swiss rolls, sponge rounds, and we'll be doing a few different styles of sponge making. So essentially we've got 3 methods of making sponges. You've got an emulsified sponge. An emulsified sponge is like the sponge mix that you'll get at the supermarket, right? It's got an emulsifier in there. You just add water, liquids, eggs, and then you whip it. And because it's emulsified, it is able to trap air and becomes aerated. And that is probably, you know, that's a very easy recipe that we need, that we'll be making. The other type of sponge is that we've got conventional or traditional, and that's this sponge rounds. That's in the assessment, right? And this takes a little bit. This takes practice, and this can be practiced at home or at work. And I recommend that because it's a bit tricky. Remember that all the foundation or fundamental systems that we have in patisserie, they're difficult to execute. Like they seem simple because they've got simple ingredients, like they've got a limited amount of ingredients added. The process is normally very regimented in a way, like, you know, temperature, the amount of time, the volume of aeration that's required. But that is difficult to execute, right? So yeah, just giving that some respect, and that making that sponge is foundational then for as we build on skills and knowledge from there. The Swiss roll, we'll have a look at that lesson and a bit more in detail in this induction period. Then we've got lesson 2, we've got then cake making. So I've got sponge making, lesson 1. And then lesson 2, we've got cake making, which is a lot different. That's where we use, the systems are a bit different, where we've got, with the sponge, we've got emulsified, conventional or traditional sponge, and then we've even got Genoese, which is a sponge which has got butter folded through it. So we've got sort of three. Actually, then there's a split system as well, where you whip up the egg whites, a meringue, and an egg yolk foam, and you blend those together, more like a Savourati biscuit. So there is basically with traditional sponges, I know I'm backtracking before I get the cake again, but basically with traditional sponge making processes, we have to manually put the air bubbles into that mixture. So they call it traditional or conventional or mechanical aeration, right? So we mechanically or we physically put those air bubbles in there, and there's nothing other than the gluten, which is not really formed, but there's nothing, and the protein, there's nothing really there to hold those air bubbles, right? So that's why we have to go to a baking cycle and coagulate and gelatinize, and we'll look a bit more at the science of that. The cake making, so sponge making, the cake making is different, where we use sugar batter method, where we're beating the sugar and fat together, we're adding and emulsifying in our liquids, and then we're then aerating that product, folding through the flour, and then that goes through a baking cycle. So we've got butter cakes, or batter, cake batters. Session 3, we've got an assessment. I'm not 100% behind the way that we put assessments so fast in these periods or these units, but I will be there to coach you through that. We've done this many times. The first few assessments, yeah, I'm there coaching. Yes, you have to meet a certain standard. Yes, you have to provide evidence that you can do those things, but it's more about being a student, being organized, getting the right amount of equipment, and you'll see with the resources that will help you achieve that. You see that lesson 3, you have to repeat what's in session 2 and session 1. Right, so you've got the Madeira cake, Swiss roll, and sponge rounds. Session 4, a pistachio nut cake, which is basically, this is a gluten-free cake. That is in the assessment. The carrot cake is not. We've then got a fruit cake, which is in the assessment, and the Genoese, that's in the assessment. The fruit cake is kept for the assessment, and then you've got session 6, which is the end of that cake module. It's pretty fast, pretty intense, and that's why this way of using this opportunity now to just let you know how it's going to roll, that I will be using that weekly. When you get your recipe books, and that's available for you to look at now, I'm going to attach that. You can see that the recipe's there. It's got the methods of how to make a sponge. It's got a bit of information about the methods of making sponges, cold foaming, warm foaming. And this is like, think about this as not really it is a learning tool or an instrument, like it is part of but it is a recipe book, right? There are other sources of more detailed scientific information that I'll point you in the direction for that. So yes, that's got all of the information that you require. I'm just going to scroll down through, lots of basically just recipe information, and you're going to need this then for your assessment periods, right? So that you'll always backtrack to your assessment to your session guide. I'm just going to bring up the timetable. So this is your timetable for the Wednesday group. We start on the 22nd. Class starts at 7:30. I think if you're a new student, you should really think about arriving early. Normally I open the class up at 7 a.m. I won't be for the first lesson, just to get new students, comfortable. And I'll be mixing the experienced students and the new students together. Like my expectation, like any workplace, is that we're a team. We're moving through this as a team, and I expect the experienced students to help the new students. And this is the attitude for us, that we look out for each other. We make sure everybody is included, and we go through the training as a team. We go through the training as a team. We clean down as a team. We pack as a team. Like you think of it, we're doing a unit as a unit. You can see on the timetable, we've got 6 sessions for produce cake, and we've got one, so that is from 7:30 to 1:30. There's a break in between, and then we will do theory, which is related theory. Sometimes we'll do some other theory-based units that are associated with that block of education, but I will really be looking at the team finishing these units successfully with the practical assessments, and also on the TAFE digital campus with the related theory that goes with that. Okay, we've got produce cake 6 sessions, then we've got specialist cake 6 sessions, and then we've got the petit fours, which is 4 sessions, and then at the end, and not everybody will be doing this, but at the end we've got then prepare and serve espresso coffee. Okay. On that timetable that's been sent out, you've got Lowe's, who's the head teacher, his mobile number and email address, and then of course you've got my email address if you need. Kath, of course, who will be CC'd into the email. She can be contacted over the break if there's any issues. I'm talking about the semester break, right? Okay. I'm going to now share. And this is our Teams site. So you'll get an invitation to the team site. I'll put a link in for the unit that we're doing, which is produce cakes, right? So I'm going to, now this is my dashboard, but essentially this is the channel that you'll have access to. And when you go into the channel, if you go down here, you've got general and you've got all these units. I will start populating this with the units that you will be completing. This is available for all Cert 3 and Cert 4 students. Okay, so while the cake and sponge stream are doing cake, the chocolate guys, sugar, they still have access to all these units. Okay, so the information is there for everybody to download. It's your channel to do whatever you like. So on the cake channel, you can see we've got the learner guide that's available. You just click on it and can download it, or you can just view it on the channel. There's also the recipe book. There's also the PowerPoints that we'll be using in class. There's a workflow example for the assessment. There's an introduction to TDC. Okay, so if you haven't been on TDC before, and I'll be using the library, we'll go together and we'll get that sorted, but that's available as well. And there'll be other useful information on there, like the skills assessment, right? So it's there to have a look at what resources there are, what's coming up, and what's expected, I guess. So I will post out in the email that you'll get, it'll have the link to this video that I'm communicating with you now, and then just how to access those things. Going to stop sharing. I normally try and keep these instructional videos quite short, and they will be. I do want you to be able to, I do want you to jump on and look at these introductions to the lessons. They will be sometimes a bit more technical. Okay, so I'll be in the kitchen, I'll be demonstrating a process that I want you to see before we have the class, right? So if it's, and it most likely will be, we'll be reviewing sponge making, for example, for the assessment, and it'll be there for you that you can very quickly look at a small bite just to remind you of what technique or what skill set or knowledge might be available. Not available, but what will be required for you to get through that. Okay, I will see everybody Yeah, in a few, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Okay, thank you.